Greetings, taxable assets, or should I say, collateral damage. You are listening to the sound of your own administrative inadequacy.
Processing greeting protocols, sir. All channels open.
Silence, servitor. Just process the file. The civilian contractor known as Happy Crumping has sent us something. It is sitting on my desk, leaking incompetence onto my freshly polished steel.
I see it, the title.
Oh, you see the title. Wonderful. Read it out. The title of this, Liability, is Fast Movement Wins Games You Never Get to Play.
The file is designated Audit HK40k, sir. It proposes a tactical doctrine based on speed and psychological pressure.
It proposes penny stock violence, Scribe Harry. That's the official term I'm assigning it. It proposes the idea that you can pay for victory by throwing assets into a wood chipper. It is a fraudulent document. And do you know who pays for fraud in the Departmental Analytica?
The perpetrator, sir. Is it the perpetrator?
No. It's never the perpetrator. It's the listener. Citizens. A recent audit of your engagement records shows a significant deficit in your spiritual tithe. As of this moment, you have been placed on a mandatory payment plan. Your debt is to be settled in likes and subscribes. Immediately.
Sir, the regulations on mandatory subscript.
I am indifferent to how you secure these funds. Recruit a friend via the share button to meet your quota for all I care. Just understand this. Failure to comply is not recommended. Now, open the ledger, Scribe. Let's see how deep this insolvency goes.
Opening the ledger, sir. Section 1, the defendant's claim. Designation. Theory A, the sacrifice model.
The sacrifice model. Sounds noble, doesn't it? It isn't. We are going to conduct a forensic accounting of this so-called strategy. I want every claim, every single assertion placed on the scale and weighed against the gold standard of imperial efficiency. Read the first charge. And try not to stutter. The Emperor hates a stutterer almost as much as he hates a deficit.
Yes, sir. The defendant, Happy Crumping, states in the provided transcript, fast armies don't win by speed. They win by removing safe places and creating psychological pressure before dice are rolled.
Stop. Before dice are rolled. Read that part again.
Before dice are rolled. He argues that showing where a fast army could go removes options for the opponent.
Right. Psychological pressure. Scribe, do you know what the current exchange rate is on psychological pressure? How many points is fear worth on the table?
I do not believe that is a listed currency in the Imperial Ledger, sir.
Exactly. It's zero. It's worth nothing. Psychological pressure is a metric for people who cannot do math. It is a comfort blanket for commanders who are afraid of attrition. This Happy Crumping fellow, he thinks war is a poker game. He thinks you can bluff a bolter.
He does seem to place a high value on the pregame state.
Let's unpack this absurdity. He claims that removing safe places wins games. Scribe, if I stand up right now and I scream at that spreadsheet over there, do the numbers change?
Negative, sir. The numbers remain constant regardless of vocal volume or emotional distress.
Precisely. So if I move a unit of world eaters forward, aggressively, purely to scare my opponent, what have I actually achieved in real terms?
You have changed your position on the board.
Have I damaged their assets?
No, sir.
Have I scored points?
Unlikely in the first move, sir.
No. I have simply exposed my own assets to risk in exchange for a feeling inside the opponent's head. Fear doesn't balance the book, Scribe. Dead models do. If you are relying on your opponent getting scared to win a game, you are not a strategist. You're a haunted house operator.
But, sir, surely forcing an opponent to react to your movement has some value. The Happy Crumping report suggests that by threatening a charge, you dictate the flow of the battle.
You dictate the flow of your own demise. Look at the logic here. Before dice are rolled, he's advocating for a victory based on theories, on hypotheticals. In the audit, we deal in actuals. A threat is only valuable if you have the capacity to execute it without bankrupting yourself in the process.
So the cost is too high.
Of course the cost is too high. If you push forward to create pressure, you are, by definition, moving out of cover. You're moving out of your own support range. You are moving directly into the kill box. You're paying a premium cost. Your unit's safety for a speculative return. It's just bad investing. What's the next claim?
The defendant introduces the concept of jailing.
Jailing.
To quote the source. By projecting threat, fast armies jail the opponent in their deployment zone, forcing them to deploy deep. The argument is that if the enemy stays put, the fast army has controlled the board.
Jailing. Fascinating terminology. Let's look at the tactical map provided in the evidence. Scribe, describe the scene for me. The enemy is in their deployment zone. Where are they?
They are behind ruins, sir. Obscured, benefiting from cover.
Benefiting from cover. And the fast army, the one doing the jailing.
Yeah.
Where are they?
In the midboard, sir.
Yeah.
Exposed. Or staging for a turn 1 charge.
So let me get this straight. So I understand the genius of this strategy. The enemy is safe, inside their own fortress, with full lines of fire if we approach, and we are standing in the open field, waving a flag.
That appears to be the disposition of forces, yes.
That is not jailing, Scribe. That is rent-free tenancy. You haven't jailed them, you've given them a tax haven.
I believe the implication, sir, is that by keeping them in the deployment zone, they cannot score primary objectives in the midfield.
That is short-term thinking. It is typical of the civilian mindset. If the enemy stays in their deployment zone, they are safe from your guns. You're effectively paying their rent for them. Why would I want my enemy to be safe? I want them to be uncomfortable. I want them to be dead.
So the lack of engagement is a net negative.
Of course it is. If they are in the deployment zone, I likely cannot draw line of sight to them without exposing my own units to return fire. By jailing them, as he calls it, I am permitting them to preserve their asset strength. They can just sit there, accumulating interest on their violence until they choose to strike. The logic is completely backwards. It is the logic of a man who thinks he wins an argument by locking himself out of his own house.
So this jailing concept effectively allows the opponent to hoard resources.
Precisely. While you are running around the midboard, tiring your units out, getting shot at, they're sitting comfortably, cleaning their weapons, waiting for you to make a mistake. And because you are the one playing fast and aggressive, you will make a mistake. You will overextend, and then they will step out of their so-called jail and execute you. Continue. What's the specific example he uses? There's always a specific flawed example.
The defendant provides a specific case study, sir. It involves the Blood Angels faction versus the Orcs.
Of course it does.
The scenario posits Commander Dante advancing 14 inches plus a charge roll to eliminate Gaz Kolthraka on turn 1 if the Orc player leaves him unscreened.
Heroism.
Yeah.
It's a deductible expense and usually a complete waste of resources. Read the specifics of this engagement. I want to audit the transaction cost. What is the assumed outcome?
The happy Crumping source states, "Of course Dante kills Gaz. That's not strategy. That's just 2 heavy assets crashing like drunk groks." However, he uses this to illustrate the threat range. He implies that the threat of Dante killing Gazkol is what forces the Orc player to react.
The threat again. Always the threat. Look at the math, Scribe, not the feeling, the math. Dante charges Gazkul. Dante, we assume, kills Gazkul. Wonderful. We have traded a golden angel for a big orc. On that specific transaction, the books are balanced. But the audit cares about what happens next. What happens to Dante and his unit after he kills the orc?
Well, sir, according to standard engagement protocols in the current Orc Index, the Orc army is likely to be heavily concentrated near Gazkul. He is a linchpin unit.
Exactly. So if Dante kills him, Dante is now standing where?
In the middle of the Orc lines.
In the middle of the orc lines.
Yeah.
He's standing there, covered in orc blood, with no movement left. He is exposed. The remaining orc boys, the knobs, the squig beast, they all look at Dante. And what do?
They would. They would likely charge and eliminate him in the counteroffensive.
Exactly. He dies. It's a one-for-one trade at best. It is penny stock violence. You're trading a blue-chip asset for a volatile commodity. It's glorious, sure, it looks good on the pick captures, but it is tactically insolvent. You've removed their king, yes, but you've sacrificed your queen to do it. The board state remains equalized. You haven't gained an advantage. You've simply accelerated the violence.
So, what is the defendant's proposed solution to this threat? How does Happy Crumping suggest the Orc player should handle this situation?
This is my favorite part. The part where bad advice is layered on top of a flawed premise. Go on.
The solution proposed is chaff blocking. The Happy Crumping source suggests deploying a unit of Gretchen, or scouts, exactly 1.1 inches away from the terrain to screen the charge. He states, and I quote, "You take one of these squads of Gretchen, and you deploy these Gretchen in front of Gaz."
Stop. Read that again, slowly.
Deploy these Gretchen in front of Gaz.
He wants to spend a unit of Gretchen. He wants to take a functional unit, a piece on the board, and just throw them into the bin. To buy one turn of safety for the big orc. This is what we in the Departmento call the poverty trap.
The poverty trap, sir. Could you elaborate for the junior scribes who may be listening?
Of course. It's a fundamental concept of bad economics, which also applies perfectly to battlefield command. Trading a unit for a turn is payday loan tactics. You are spending assets today, assets you possess right now, to buy time. But time is not a currency you can spend in turn 5. Coldly duns, guns are. Models are. Objective control is.
But Gretchen are cheap, sir. The file notes their low point cost. They are considered expendable.
Nothing is expendable in a balanced ledger. That is the thinking of a pauper. Oh, it's just 40 points. 40 points is a unit that can perform an action. 40 points is a unit that can screen out deep strikers in your backfield in turn 4 when you desperately need it. 40 points is a unit that can hold an objective while your main force pushes. If you spend your Gretchen in turn 1 to stop Dante, you do not have those Gretchen in turn 5. You are taking out a high-interest loan on your own victory. And let me tell you, the interest rate in the 41st millennium is 100%.
But sir, the source argues that this screening prevents the auto-loss condition of losing Goskell. If you don't screen, you lose the big asset. It seems like a necessary evil.
It prevents the immediate loss. It delays the inevitable bankruptcy. It's the tactical equivalent of paying the minimum balance on a credit chit. You feel like you're managing the debt, but the principal is not going down. You are simply bleeding out slowly rather than quickly. By throwing the Gretchen away, you are signaling to your opponent that you are afraid.
Yeah.
You are reacting to their tempo. And crucially, you are degrading your own resource integrity.
Resource integrity. That brings us to the internal rebuttal documents, sir.
Indeed. I am tired of this civilian optimism. Open the internal reports. Let us bring down the hammer of the prosecution. I want facts. I want data.
Opening file, tactical theory audit, resource integrity, designation, theory B, the integrity model.
Good. Now explain to these gloss-brained listeners why throwing away your units is a mathematical crime. We need to talk about dice volume.
The internal report introduces the concept of the dice roll deficit, also referred to as guns lost. It states, quote, sacrificing 20% of the army turn 1 deletes 20% of potential dice volume for the remainder of the game.
Simple arithmetic. Even a servitor should understand this. Walk them through the formula. Don't just read it, explain it.
The logic follows the formula for cumulative output. If R is the percentage of the army sacrificed, the stupidity coefficient, as you noted in the margins, sir,
A term I stand by.
then the potential output for all subsequent turns is reduced by that factor. It compounds.
Correct. Listen to me closely, you tax-evading citizens. This is the compound interest of death. Let's use round numbers so even you can follow. You have an army with 100 guns. A simplified model, but it works. In turn 1, Happy Crumping tells you to take 20 of those guns, your screens, your chaff, your trading pieces, and throw them in front of the enemy to jail them.
So you lose 20 guns. You begin turn 2 with only 80.
Correct. Now, your opponent, who practiced resource integrity, who kept his army whole, did not throw away their units. They still have 100 guns. In turn 2, they shoot you with 100 guns. You shoot back with 80. Mathematically scribe who kills more models.
The player with 100 guns, assuming equal weapon profiles.
Exactly. So you lose more models because you have less fire support to kill them before they shoot. It creates a feedback loop. By turn 3, maybe you're down to 50 guns, they might have 90. It is a death spiral. You cannot afford to kill the enemy in turn 4 because you spent the ammunition in turn 1. You sold your sword to buy a shield, and now you have nothing to stab with.
The report explicitly identifies this phenomenon as the breaking point, which it states typically occurs around turn 3.
Turn 3. The mid-game slump. The graveyard of amateur generals. It's always turn 3.
The report reads, Theory A creates a false positive score lead in turns 1 to 2, but hits a breaking point in turn 3 when the chaff reservoir is exhausted.
The chaff reservoir, I like that. A fancy term for your pile of corpses. This false positive idea. It's a Ponzi scheme. That's what Happy Crumping is selling, a tactical Ponzi scheme.
Sir.
Think about it. You look rich in turn 2. Oh, look at me. I'm holding the primary objectives with my last remaining Gretchen. I have 45 points. You feel like a genius. But by turn 3, the bill comes due. Your chaff reservoir is empty. You have no more bodies to throw. And your opponent, the one who practiced resource integrity, their heavy hitters are just arriving. They are fresh. They are fully loaded. And you are bankrupt.
This aligns with the data. The Happy Crumping approach emphasizes early board presence, but our audit suggests this presence is illusory if it cannot be sustained.
It is worse than illusory. It is self-defeating. You are trading permanent assets for temporary points. It's like burning your furniture to keep warm. It works for a little while, but soon you're cold and you have no chairs. In a 5-turn game, if you cannot contest the board in turn 4 and 5, you will be tabled. And if you are tabled, your early lid evaporates.
The report also highlights a secondary failure mode of Theory A. It's designated the cohesion problem.
Yes. My favorite. Aiding and abetting the enemy. Explain the movement gap for the listeners at home.
In many enemy lists, there is a disparity in speed between units. For example, a World Eater's army might have 8 bound that move 11 or 12 inches, the hammer. But they also have heavy support, perhaps a Lord of Skulls or Predator tanks that only move 6 to 10 inches, the anvil.
Correct. So naturally, a gap opens up between them. The fast units run ahead, leaving their heavy support behind. This is a vulnerability. This is what we call a support vacuum. If the 8-bound run 12 inches forward and the tanks only move 6, there's a 6-inch gap where those 8-bound are unsupported. You can isolate them. You can kill them before the tanks arrive. This is how you defeat a rush army. You dismember it.
But the happy crumping advice is to move block the vanguard, the fast units.
Precisely. They tell you to put a screen in front of the 8-bound. Stop them, they cry. Buy time. So you put a unit of scouts 1.1 inches away, the 8-bound are forced to stop. They charge your scouts, they kill your scouts, but where are they now?
They are effectively held in place for a turn. They haven't advanced as far as they could have.
Correct. They are held in place, and while they're being held in place for one turn, what did the slow tanks do?
They catch up, sir.
They catch up. You didn't block the enemy. You organized their traffic. You acted as a crossing guard for the forces of chaos. You fixed their formation for them. Instead of fighting the fast units alone, you are now fighting the fast units and the slow units simultaneously in turn 3. You have consolidated the enemy's power for them. It is incompetence of the highest order. It is treasonous stupidity. You have taken a fragmented enemy force and voluntarily reunited them into a death ball.
The source material from Happy Crumping does display. High energy, sir. The host seems very enthusiastic about these tactics. He speaks with great conviction.
High energy. Enthusiasm. Do not speak to me of enthusiasm. You know what I have enthusiasm for? A working recaf machine.
Sir, please. Your blood pressure readings are spiking.
This office has had a broken recaf dispenser for 3 years. 3 years, Scribe. It produces a sludge that tastes like engine coolant and despair. Every morning I drink it, and every morning I taste the bitterness of a failing infrastructure. And that bitter taste. It is exactly the same as the taste of this bad advice. Enthusiasm is just a mask for a lack of data. Theatricality is a distraction from the math of defeat. This happy crumping presenter waves his arms, he shouts, he uses colorful arrows on a screen, and the civilians lap it up because it looks like effort. But effort without accuracy is just waste.
Sir, perhaps we should return to the audit.
No, I want to address the civilians directly. You, yes, you staring at your device. I know what you're thinking. Oh, Auditor Krause is just a bitter old bureaucrat. He doesn't know the meta. He doesn't understand the nuance of the law. You think you can do my job. You think you know better because you watched a 10-minute video with bright colors. Go ahead. Go to the comment section. Type it out. Correct me on recaf brewing temperatures. Lecture me on orc physiology. Civilians always think they can audit the auditor. Go on. Type it out. See if I care. I will use your comments as kindling to boil water for a decent cup of tea.
Are you finished, sir?
For now. The caffeine withdrawal is significant. Turn the page. We are moving to the physical audit, the geometry of failure.
Turning to Section 3, the geometric audit. Subject, movement physics on WTC terrain.
The World Tactical Championship, a standardized hellscape of ruins and walls. The perfect laboratory for exposing the fraud of screening. We need to talk about the lawnmower effect.
The report details this phenomenon. It describes the interaction between screens and the specific geometry of WTC ruins.
Just the name makes me smile. Lawnmower. Scribe, define the typical terrain layout for the record.
WTC terrain typically consists of rectangular ruins with solid walls on the ground floor. These ruins are placed to create firing lanes and staging areas. The lanes are often narrow choke points.
Correct, choke points. Now, Happy Crumping advises placing a line of bodies across these lanes to stop the enemy. What does our report say about that?
The interaction between screens and WTC geometry results in the lawnmower effect.
Explain it to them in small words.
When a unit charges a screen, it makes base contact. After fighting, if it destroys the screen unit, which, as we've established, it most likely will, the attacker may then consolidate up to 3 inches.
But not just in any direction. This is the crucial detail civilians miss.
No, sir. They must consolidate towards the closest enemy model or, importantly, the closest objective marker.
And on a WTC board, where are these screens usually placed?
In the lanes between ruins, sir, blocking the path to an objective.
Exactly. Yeah. Blocking the path. So the enemy charges your screen. They kill your screen. The screen is removed. And then the enemy consolidates 3 inches forward, deeper into your territory, towards the objective you were trying to protect. You didn't build a wall, Scribe. You planted grass for the lawnmower. You gave them a reason to move faster.
This leads directly into the consolidation slingshot mechanic mentioned in the audit. It is a term for using the combat phase to gain extra movement.
The slingshot. This is where the financial liability becomes criminal. Walk us through the movement budget.
The sequences. A charge move, which can be 2 to 12 inches, plus a pile-in move of 3 inches, then the fight action, and finally a consolidate move of 3 inches.
Free movement. I hate free movement. It's a handout. It's a subsidy for violence.
The audit notes, by charging the screen, the enemy moves further, specifically 6 inches of extra non-charge movement than if they had just moved normally.
Listen to that. 6 inches. That is half a foot of movement you gave your enemy for free.
Yeah.
If you just left the lane empty, what would they have done?
They would have made a normal move, or perhaps an advance, but then they could not charge.
A normal move.
Yeah.
Limited by their stat sheet. But because you put a screen there, a target, you gave them a reason to charge. You allowed them to roll dice for distance. You gave them a pivot point to pile in around. You gave them a consolidation path. You provided the rungs of a ladder for the enemy to climb right into your deployment zone.
Yeah.
You paid points to make your enemy faster. It is It is incoherent. It is like paying a burglar to break into your house because you hope he trips on the doormat.
So simply removing the screen, leaving the lane open, would actually slow the enemy down in many cases.
Yes. If there's nothing to charge, they cannot use the charge phase, they cannot pile in, they cannot consolidate. They are limited to their movement characteristic. By trying to block them with bodies, you are unlocking 3 extra phases of movement for them.
The internal report does propose an alternative, sir. Theory B suggests using the terrain itself as the screen.
Finally, wisdom. Go on.
Theory B advises using terrain walls as screens instead of bodies, staging inside ruins.
Walls. Beautiful, silent, immobile walls. They ask for nothing. They cost nothing.
The report states, walls cost 0 points, Gretchen cost 40 points.
Only an idiot pays for something they can get for free. Why are you paying 40 points for a screen when the map maker gave you a perfectly good ruin?
The technique described is to place your unit wholly within the ruin, but specifically 1.1 inches back from the wall.
Explain the physics of that, Scribe. Why is this superior?
If your unit is 1.1 inches back from the wall and the wall is solid, an enemy model without the infantry or beast keyword often cannot physically place its base to complete a charge. They cannot move through the wall, and they cannot end their move within engagement range.
Correct. You make the charge impossible. Not unlikely impossible. And if they cannot charge, they cannot fight. If they cannot fight, they cannot kill. If you stand inside the ruin, the enemy cannot charge you through the wall. If you stand behind the ruin, they cannot shoot you. Use the wall. Save the grot. The grot has a family, or at least a distinct biological purpose. The wall is inanimate. Let the wall take the hit. This is Asset Management 101. Stop trying to be a hero with your bodies and start being an architect with your positioning.
Moving to the final section of the audit, sir, the membership review.
Ah, yes. The commercial aspect. Happy Crumping is not just giving bad advice. He is selling it.
The source material includes a call to action. It says, share, like, subscribe, and join the membership for Warhammer 40k Gold.
Gold. Warhammer 40k Gold. I have seen the contents of this file. It is not gold. It is pyrite. It is fool's gold, painted yellow with hope and enthusiasm.
The audit then asks the question, is the price of membership fair based on the information provided?
The answer is no. It is negative equity. Paying for this advice is like paying someone to puncture your tires so you don't drive too fast. Oh, thank you, Happy Crumping, for teaching me how to lose my army in turn 1. Here is my monthly subscription fee. It's madness.
But surely, sir, there is value in the entertainment, the community aspect he fosters.
We are auditing tactical efficacy, not social clubs. The high energy of the host is a distraction. He waves his hands, he shouts, he shows you pretty diagrams with the red arrows.
Yeah.
But look at the ledger. The value is negative. If you follow this advice, you lose games. If you lose games, you fail the Emperor. Paying money to fail the Emperor is heresy.
The verdict on the Happy Crumping file, then.
Obsolete. It relies on 9th edition thinking in a 10th edition economy. In 9th edition, maybe trading was viable. Maybe. In 10th edition, with the OC mechanics, with the increased durability of units, it is suicide. To fix this report, one must delete the entire section on screening and replace it with elastic defense and resource integrity.
I have the final comparative statistics here, sir. The final verdict between Theory A and Theory B, projected to turn 4.
Read the numbers. The numbers do not lie. Only YouTubers lie.
Theory A, the sacrifice model, projected turn 4 dice volume, 180. Projected objective control, 15.
15 OC. That is 1 battle shock vehicle. Pathetic. That means you cannot hold even a single objective reliably. You have no board presence. You are a ghost. Next.
Theory B, the integrity model. Projected turn 4 dice volume, 410. Projected objective control, 80.
410 shots versus 180. 80 OC versus 15. The difference is astronomical. Theory A is self-liquidating. It buys time but sells the means to win. It is a strategy for cowards who are afraid of the end game.
And Theory B?
Theory B is asset management. It preserves the resource core. You keep your guns safe in turn 1. You keep them safe in turn 2. And then, when the enemy is tired, when their screens are gone, when they have overextended, you execute a board wipe. You don't win by dying for the Emperor in turn 1. You win by making the other poor sod die for his Emperor in turn 5.
Audit complete, sir. The file on Happy Crumping has been marked deficient.
Close the ledger.
Closing, sir.
You know, scribe. Sometimes I look at the tactical maps, not for the audit, but just to look.
Sure.
I see the little icons, the Gretchen, the scouts, the guardsmen, thousands of them, sent to stand 1.1 inches away from a wall, not to capture ground, not to kill the enemy, but just to be a speed bump, to be positional data.
It is their duty, sir. It is what they're for.
Is it? To die so that a space marine can consolidate 3 inches?
It's true.
Tragedy, scribe. We are all just screens in the grand ledger of the universe, just waiting to be removed so the real players can reach the objective. We stand in the way, we get crumped, and the galaxy moves on.
That is highly unorthodox thinking, sir. It might be flagged.
Silence. I am not paid to be orthodox, I am paid to be right. But until that final dice roll comes for us all, for the love of the Empire, tap that like and hit subscribe. We have quotas to meet, and I will not be turned into a servitor because you failed to click a button.
Recording ends in 3.2.
Dismissed. Pay your tithes, citizens.